Hello and welcome to Windsor Chronicles, the show where we delve into the latest from the British royal family, explore the stories behind the headlines, and try to make sense of what's really going on. I'm your host, Naim, and today we're turning the spotlight on two key figures in the monarchy, Prince William and Prince Harry. There's been a lot of speculation lately about how their public engagements intersect, how family tensions are playing out behind the scenes, and how timing and optics are being used, or perhaps manipulated, for message and motive. In today's episode, we'll examine one particular story about William's trip to Brazil, Harry's announcement of a Canadian visit, and what those moves may say about power, rivalry, and the future of the monarchy. So, sit back, grab a cup of tea, and let's explore what might be more than just coincidence. First, let's paint the background. Prince William has recently travelled to Brazil, visiting environmental sites such as the mangroves in Guanabara Bay and walking through Ilha de Paquetá. His itinerary was described as being focused on conservation and raising awareness of environmental causes. But according to commentators, what was striking was how light on detail the coverage was. Lots of image-making, somewhat less narrative about concrete outcomes. Many observers have pointed out that the photographic moments seemed more about creating a particular aura, a prince on mission, global, statesman in waiting. At the same time, some critics noted that the messaging leaned heavily on the look of it, the photo ops, and less on a clear articulation of what was being achieved. In other words, this wasn't just a working royal tour, it looked like a stage set for visibility, and visibility matters, especially when one is the heir apparent. What is also interesting, sources close to William reportedly took note when Harry publicly announced a Canada trip, just as William landed in Brazil. According to those sources, it was no coincidence in their view. The suggestion is that timing, as well as content, is being used deliberately. So in this first part, we're asking, what is William doing in Brazil? What does the choice of location and optics tell us? And how might that tie into a broader narrative about succession, legacy, and the monarchy's public face? From the British press and royal watching community, some key observations. William's visits emphasised youth, vitality, global reach, hardly accidental for someone poised to succeed. One write-up contrasted his buoyant, choreographed presence with the image of a monarch who may be viewed as ailing, or whose reign may be more constrained. It positioned William as the energetic alternative. But while the visuals were rich, commentators noted the substance was comparatively shallow. The underlying causes, the conservation work, the local impact, the concrete partnerships, were less highlighted. That raises the question, is this engagement about substance, or is it about symbolism? For your listening audience, think of it this way. When you go on a trip and you stage lots of great photos, but you don't talk about what you actually did, it suggests your priority is image. And for someone in William's position, heir to the throne, increasingly visible globally, the image is supremely important. In short, William's Brazil tour appears less about behind-the-scenes impact and more about front-page narrative. And that sets the stage for what comes next. Now let's switch to Harry. He announced a trip to Canada for engagements with the veteran support charity True Patriot Love Foundation on dates that would overlap, or at least run very close to William's Brazil schedule. According to insiders, the timing of Harry's announcement caught William's team's attention, and not in a good way. The charge from William's side, this was not casual. As one source is quoted, they don't believe in coincidence, they believe in choreography. The idea is that Harry's announcement was a deliberate signal designed to send a message, possibly to William, or to the institution, or to the wider public. What does this tell us? First, Harry is not just quietly doing his engagements, he is making announcements that reverberate. Second, the overlapping timeline invites comparison. William is in Brazil, seemingly focusing on environmental work. Harry is in Canada doing veteran military family engagements. Two royal brothers, two tours, two narratives. Which one captures more attention? Which one becomes the story? One interpretation. Harry's team may have planned this so that even though William had a 2-day slot in Brazil, the headlines might shift toward Harry. That, in itself, is significant. Being able to direct or divide attention is power. Another observation. There's talk that Harry informed the monarch's office of his plans, as a courtesy. But insiders say that matters less than the fact that his scheduling overlaps with the heir's high-profile visit. In the palace context, such overlaps are rarely accidental, and they can be read as provocations. And yet, for Harry, his narrative is different. He views his engagements as genuine. His work with veterans is meaningful to him, rooted in his own service and his long-standing charity commitments. So we have two simultaneous strands, the public narrative of competition or tension, and the personal narrative of sincere purpose. They may not be mutually exclusive. For listeners, imagine you're a younger sibling trying to assert your relevance in a system where your older sibling is the successor. One way to do that is to ensure your legacy projects don't run quietly. You make them visible, you make them timed, you make them harder to overshadow. That may be what we're seeing here. Beyond just these trips, there's a deeper layer of what they represent. The future structure of the monarchy, who counts and who doesn't, and who gets the privileges and styles that come with royal status. One part of the story reports that William and his camp are considering revoking titles from Harry and his family once William ascends. The logic, a leaner monarchy, clearer lines of who belongs in the inner circle. The precedent? The removal of the HRH style from Prince Andrew by the monarch via letters patent. If one style can go, others might too. That development has stirred unease around Harry's side. So this India-style travel or Canada engagement isn't just about the present. It's about who will be in and who will be out in the future. Harry's engagements, his public announcements, his charitable work outside the direct royal establishment, they may be part of a strategy to carve out a legacy independent of the institution, because he senses the possibility of being outside it. William, by contrast, is positioning himself squarely inside, heir to the throne, shaping the monarchy's future from within, keeping engagements closely tied to the royal brand. Hence the careful orchestration of his visit, the outward appearance of continuity, stability, tradition, and the demonstration of relevance. Another facet, the emotional and relational side. Harry has spoken about duty being what feels right for me, rather than simply what the crown requires. That sentiment may resonate with many, but it may also collide with the institutional expectations of royalty. Meanwhile, William is depicted in media commentary as wounded, hurt by what he perceives as public airing of private family matters. For example, Harry's memoir or interviews. The emotional sting here is real. Thus we have personal grievance, plus institutional power play, plus public symbolism. It's a complex triangle. For listeners, think of a family business about to transition to the next generation. The younger sibling wants a certain independence. The older sibling is being groomed for leadership and wants unity and clarity. The public is watching. The media magnifies everything. The psychology, the optics, and the strategy all converge. So, with those pieces in place, what should we make of them? And what should we look out for going ahead? First, timing and announcement matter. The fact that Harry's Canada engagement announcement fell while William was on tour abroad is unlikely to be purely accidental. Attention is a resource. If you can shift it, you gain leverage. Second, visibility and narrative are key. William's Brazil tour may be more flash than substance. That doesn't mean it's inconsequential. For someone facing the succession, demonstrating global reach and active engagement is important. For Harry, demonstrating independence and relevance outside the core monarchy may be his aim. Third, the power dynamic is changing. The monarchy is wrestling with what it means to be working royals, who remains in the inner circle, what styles and privileges are granted or removed. The choices made now will ripple into the next reign. Fourth, personal relationship trouble will continue to affect public perception. Whether reconciliation happens or deeper estrangement, the optics matter. Harry's stated desire for reconciliation is tempered by his insistence on truth first. William's hurt and distancing are well documented. Fifth, for our audience in Kenya and Africa, there's an interesting angle in how royal charity work engages with global regions. William's environmental work likely involves conservation and partnerships in the global south. Harry's veteran military work has global reach. The narratives these tours spin may have local implications in our part of the world. It's worth watching which royal projects scale, which fade, and how the messaging holds up to reality. What to watch for moving ahead. Any public statement by William about Harry or the Sussexes, rare but meaningful. The UK media coverage, who gets the front pages, who gets the analysis. Title changes or announcements of streamlining the monarchy. Future tours and how their scheduling overlaps. Real, concrete impacts of the royal engagements beyond photo ops. So, to sum up, what we have isn't just sibling rivalry. It's a complex interplay of timing, optics, institutional legacy, and personal positioning. William's trip to Brazil sends a signal about who he is and who he wants to be. Harry's Canada announcement sends a signal about who he believes he is and what he wants to do. The overlaps may not be coincidental. In fact, they may be strategic. And in the royal world, strategy, image, and timing all matter. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Windsor Chronicles. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a comment. What do you think is really motivating these public moves from William and Harry? Are they simply doing good work, or is there something more at play? Until next time, I'm Naim, and this has been Windsor Chronicles. Stay curious, keep watching The Crown, and we'll be back soon with more from the world of royalty.